What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Move Better channel. I'm your host, Dr. Joe, and this is the Professor John Penacerrata. Today, we're going to be talking about ankle mobility. And what you guys might not be familiar with is how to control your ankle from all directions. Now, mobility means our control around our joint. How much control do you guys have around your joints? And a lot of the time, people just work on stretching out their ankles. We're working on trying to control it. So the first thing that we're going to start with today is what areas do we assess personally on how to see where the dysfunction of the ankle might be coming from. So today we're going to start with getting a yoga block or some type of apparatus that's going to be able to hold your knees in place. You're going to drive your feet directly underneath your knees, and we're just going to see in 4 planes on how our ankle can move. And the first part of it is, can you dorsiflex your foot, right? How high can you bring your feet up, your forefoot up off of the ground, right? And then the next part is driving your feet down, and how can we lift our heels? How high can we lift our heels off the ground? And that's going to be our plantar flexion. And then from here, we're going to see, can we lift the outside part of our feet up while pushing our big toe down? A lot of people just do this, and yes, this is part E version, but I want to see how much control you guys have by putting the mid part of your foot down and just lifting the outside part of the foot. Now, if you don't have that or your feet start to roll out like this, that's not what I'm asking. I'm trying to get you guys to make sure that you guys can control in this plane right here. So big toe down as we push up the outside part of our foot. How much control do we have there? Then do we have inversion, which is lifting the mid part of our foot off the ground while keeping our knees stable, right? And that's where this apparatus is going to be right in the middle of our knees here, okay? Try not to use this because this is going to what we call cheating. And you don't want to do this, utilizing our knees to do the work for us. Okay, so those are the 4 planes. Next, we're going to work on rotation. The block is in between our knees, and we're going to work on external rotation and eversion. We're going to go to the other side. How much control do we have over that? External rotation and eversion. Then we're going to work on internal rotation. How much internal rotation of the foot do we have? And both sides, right? So that's where we want to see what kind of control we have before we just start saying, hey, I need ankle dorsiflexion, right? I need ankle mobility. Can I drive my knees forward over my toes? That might be part of it, but what might be limiting you is something else along that chain. So make sure you guys assess yourself first before you guys start just digging into, hey, I need dorsiflexion or I need plantar flexion. Start finding out what's dysfunctional for you guys. So what we're going to start with is foam rolling for our calves. Now, one way that you guys can start it is by just laying your feet and your calves next to each other without necessarily lifting your hips just yet, okay? Some people that are very hypersensitive or sensitive to rolling or any type of pressure on their calves, this might just be enough. But as we put more pressure into it, we can make it harder by just crossing one ankle over the other knee, or one ankle over the foot. Now, one of the mechanisms that people like to do is they dorsiflex their foot right away. That's going to fight that communication. What we want to do is relax your toes into this as we put pressure. Now, he's putting the pressure, there's 2 parts of the calf muscle, which is you have the gastroc at the top and then you have your soleus at the bottom. We want to release tension off the soleus first. We're going to go from the distal portion first or closest to the ground first and then work our way up the chain. So as he's here, instead of going up and down, he's going to roll side to side because there's going to be, well, on the gastroc there's a medial edge and there's a lateral edge. In the soleus, we're going to try to get both, and you're going to try to relax your toes as he's rolling his hips side to side here, okay? Then if he wants to, he can lift his hips up. Now, when he lifts his hips up, that's where the hypersensitivity comes into play. How do I know? Because his toes immediately flex backwards. Go ahead and relax your toes, relax your foot right here. And he's going to be fighting it, so we're just going to keep pressure here. We're going to slowly increase the movement of his ankle now, or of the pressure. When we put too much pressure, we start to fight it. We don't want that. Go ahead and relax, drop your hips down. And in his case, he started to fight it. We leave it alone once he starts to fight that, okay? Now we're going to go ahead and switch sides here so we can balance you out a little bit. Now, once you've gained that and you can relax those toes muscles, the toe muscles, go ahead and lift. you can start going up and down on that soleus if you'd like to. Now this is also going to help with Achilles tendonitis, some of the things that may come with ankle mobility dysfunction. So we start with that. We're going to go up a little bit higher this time. Now we're just going to get closer towards the knee and crossing the legs, and we're just going to go from the lateral side, keep pressure there, and we're going to go to the medial side, keeping pressure there. Relaxing the toes. Multiple times I'm going to remind you guys, relax your toes as much as possible so that way the muscles of your calves do not over flex against what you're trying to do here. You're just trying to create that communication pathway. Remember, there's so many different parts to the ankle mobility. We want to try to get to the muscles that control all ranges of motion. So now we're going to go ahead and uncross your feet here, and you're going to go on your elbow, and you're just going to roll to your side. And now we're going to get the side part of our calves, and his legs are crossed. He can uncross them. This is going to be the hypersensitive, and then now this is going to be the more strenuous one where we're keeping pressure there. If he would like to, he could bridge his hips, and he could just keep that pressure onto that muscle. Again, you don't have to roll up and down. If you'd like to, by all means, go for it, as long as your toes can relax. Go ahead and relax from now. Perfect. And then the last one that we're going to do is we're going to go into the front part of our shin here. Now you're going to go in face down, and all you're going to do here, John, is you're just going to keep your knees bent. Get your butt up into the air, keep your knees bent, and then from here you're going to hold it. You're going to cross this ankle here. Now, from here, notice where he's at. He's in a comfortable position. The foam roller is right along his shin here, and he's just going to rotate his body into that so he's getting the front part of his shin, the anterior tibialis muscle, and he's just going to keep that pressure. If that's pretty tender, leave it there. If it's not, and you want to lift the hips up off the ground, and you want to put more pressure into the belly of the muscle, go ahead, put it right there. Go ahead and drop your left knee down. There you go, and you're just going to keep pressure along that. Now, the other foot is hooked across the back of the calf muscle, and so he's really digging and putting pressure into those muscles of the front part of his shin. And then the last one we're going to do for the foam rolling technique is, in this case, I'm going to have his foot in on top. Now, one of the things that's often missed when we foam roll is the posterior tib muscle. If you look at my medial malleolar right here, it's right along that tattoo that I have right here. It kind of digs underneath the back of my shin muscle. And this muscle is an important one for working on the arch of my foot. It slowly decelerates my pronation, or when my foot goes inward. A lot of the time that muscle is underactive, especially when we start to wear tight shoes that squeeze our toes together. And this muscle is probably underactive. And when I say underactive, it's lacking that communication pathway. It's lacking that control. And so one of the big things that we want to try to do is regain it by putting pressure into it. That self-massage technique, that pressure. Now go ahead and place here. Now notice where he's at. He's just trying to get the mid part of his shin onto that foam roller as he's rolling his body into it. And then from here, he's going to go up and down, up and down. And that's going to be the foam rolling techniques for the ankle mobility. For the first part of ankle mobility, you guys have probably seen this stretch before. A lot of people are starting to teach ankle mobility utilizing a band. Now, I like to use the bands also just because it helps me get to the area or the joint line that I want to get mobilized. And remember, this is not the only thing that's going to create that mobilization. The reason why we're giving you guys multiple exercises is because those exercises, when they put together, they can start retraining the control of that ankle. And in his case, this ankle dorsiflexion, his sock is perfect for this because we could see that line that goes underneath that bone, right? The what we call the lateral malleoli. This, let's go ahead and put this band underneath your whole leg. This band is going to go along that ankle. Now, don't put it too high because you're not really doing anything for that, right? You're not getting the area that you need mobilized. So you're going to use this band and you're just going to wrap it along an angle underneath that malleoli. Now, as I'm pulling here, you could utilize any type of apparatus. You could utilize a rig, a table, a heavy chair, something that's going to be able to hold this tension, this resistant band back and pull along that angle. Now notice where if you could see the band here, the band is actually going underneath and it's pulling at that angle that we need to. So I'm going to hold that pressure there. You guys use whatever type of apparatus you can to hold that band. If you guys have a partner, just do it just like we're doing it right here. Matt brought up an idea that, you know, you could try to use the other band to try to pull that back to try to create ankle mobility. That's just going to limit your movement patterns. I'm going to let him do his work real quick. Yeah, no, this is not going to work. I don't think this is going to work. I mean, look, there's just not enough tension along that band. Maybe if you got a smaller band, but that's also going to limit your mobility that you're trying to do. What I want to try to get him to do is get in close as he's going to try to drive his weight and the load over his knee to try to work with that ankle mobility over here. Okay, so right now we're just trying to stretch and put load into the joint. So when I say mobility, this is more just the flexibility portion of the ankle. So he's gonna pull that band, he's gonna get some tension on that band, and he's gonna drive his weight. Go ahead and get onto your elbows. As you're driving that ankle, you're trying to keep the knee down, or the heel down, keeping the heel down as he's trying to push the knee over his toe. Push, 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 and this band is pulling backwards, so he's really getting that crank of dorsiflexion. Now, as he's here, go ahead and now holding onto that knee here, push the knee to the outside. As he's pushing the knee to the outside, push your heel down, don't let go of that heel. Now place your hands down on the table right there, both hands. And you're gonna use this elbow to push the knee to the outside. Because remember, we need inversion, we need eversion of that ankle. And doing this, we're trying to drag the knee to the outside. Now we're gonna pull that knee back, and that's it. Now you're gonna pull it onto the inside, so we're gonna be working a little bit of dorsiflexion and eversion. Now, coupled movements are totally okay with ankle mobility. Ankle mobility does not just work with one plane. It works on various planes. So we wanna work dorsiflexion, dorsiflexion, inversion, kind of like what I was showing you guys with those assessments in the first place. So this is part 1, part 2, and part 3 of that coupled mobilizations that we want to try to do, okay? Go ahead and relax. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch up the bands here. And the reason why I'm gonna switch up the bands is because I don't want so much tension on this. I'm gonna throw that out of the way, and we're gonna get a little bit of a smaller band. Now, you don't have to use these functional resistant bands. You guys can use a TheraBand, something even lighter if you'd like to. But for these purposes, I wanna utilize this band to try to help with ankle mobility. Now, go ahead and let's put your foot back in here. Now, just along that gray sock line still, we're still gonna be around that area. I'm just gonna go ahead and put pressure into the middle. The band is being pulled laterally outside, but I'm gonna be putting pressure into the middle. Now, there's 2 ways that I can create this feedback mechanism. I'm gonna be holding the band this way. It doesn't have to go down as much anymore. Now, in this case, I'm utilizing a foam roller just to hold in between his knees, just to kind of give some feedback so I'm not letting the knee do the work. I'm pulling the band laterally here as he's gonna go ahead and work on inversion of his ankles. So you're gonna go inversion, that's eversion, inversion of the ankles. So I'm utilizing the band to actually help him gain control and movement of inversion without utilizing his knees to do the work. And this is kind of stretching that area. Now you're gonna put your foot back down. And then bring the foot back out. Good. And notice that band is pulling pretty tight. That's pretty easy to do, right? And you can kind of feel that stretch. He's gonna feel the stretch, and again, that communication to the posterior tib muscle. Go ahead and drop the foot down, and then bring it right back out. Now he's working on inversion as well as supination of the foot. Go ahead and relax. Good, bring that foot back up one more time. Now I wanna have him do controls of this for about 15 repetitions. And then after I do that, I'm gonna take the band, I'm just gonna let it relax. Now try to do that inversion again, as if the band is helping. Because I wanna take the band away, because that's the main thing about controlling his ankle movements, is once I take the band away, let's see if he still has that control over that pull. okay? The other side of it is now I'm gonna be pulling on the medial side of his ankle. And this is now he's gonna try to just roll his ankle medial and work on pushing that big toe down on the ground as he just lifts the outside part. Now try not to move your hips. See how he's trying to cheat there? You wanna try to keep the, the knees in line, and you wanna try to get his outside part of the foot. Sorry, I'm looking at his face and I was like, thinking he might be cramping up over here. But cramping just tells us that there's a misfiring happening. Now go ahead and put that foot down. And we want to gain that control. We want to work on that eversion of his ankle and then drop it back down. And back again. Lift, 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 and then drop it back down. And so what we're doing here is we're teaching the muscles how to fire, right? By giving it the feedback that it needs and pulling the band where it needs to pull. Go ahead, and now I'm going to take the band away. And let's see if he still has that control over his foot without moving his knees. Good, and then drop it down. And then bring it back in. And then back down. And then I'm gonna have him do this for about 15 repetitions. Just one set is gonna be perfectly fine. I don't need you to have 15 repetitions in 4 sets or so. We're just trying to gain that control and that range of motion of his ankle. Cool? Mm-hmm. Awesome. So now that we did the ankle inversion and eversion, now we want to create ankle dorsiflexion and controlling it from this part. So all I'm going to do is have him isometrically. Now we knew he had proper control over that area, or he had proper dorsiflexion control. But now what we're going to do is notice his knees are behind his toes while he's doing dorsiflexion. We're just trying to activate the tension off of that the anterior tib, the muscles that actually work on dorsiflexion. So raise that foot up again. Now, after he does that about 5 or 6 times, go ahead and drop. He's gonna sit, or actually move your heels backwards. He's gonna make it harder for himself in end range to try to regain that control again. So lift your foot up, hold it there, hold it there. Now I'm gonna be here to try to help him out and give him a little bit of feedback while pushing his foot up. Go ahead and relax your foot here. And then now go ahead and activate it again, activate it again, activate it again. And so now we're working on end range activation of his anterior tib muscle, which will ultimately transfer towards load when we're trying to do any type of dorsiflexion exercise, such as a squat or a lunge, or when we're trying to just drive our knees over our toes. Those shin muscles need to have that activation, and they need to have that control. Now, can this help out with knee pain as well? Absolutely. If you're having some type of tendonitis, this ankle dorsiflexion can help decrease pain in that knee, in that kneecap area.
So now we're going to try to activate some of the muscles that support and move the ankle so that we have better movement pattern for the ankle. So what we have here is we're going to have Dr. Joe actually use the wall, and he's going to lean on the wall and sort of create that idea of using the body weight in the wall for friction and tension a little bit. And we're gonna do a couple of things. The first thing we're gonna do is the dorsal flexion, which is basically flexing the ankles upward, bringing the toes up, and his body's kind of against the wall, creating a little bit of a resistance there. And simply up and down like so. And eccentrically going down. I say eccentrically is you wanna make sure you control the drop or the descent, okay? When he goes up, flexes it, holds it for a second or two, and then slowly comes down maybe 3 to 4 counts. Okay, and that creates better control patterns for your ankle and making sure that the muscles of the anterior part of your shin is actually really working for you, okay? And it's also a good counter for balance if people have a really strong overactive calf muscles. This right here will help control, give that balance on the ankle movement patterns. How's that feel?
Burns.
You should feel Yes, you're gonna feel a burn in those shin areas, and that's what we're trying to do is give that good control right there. Perfect. And then from there, we also want to create the other pattern of control, which is basically opposite of dorsal flexion is plantar flexion. So which is basically pointing your toes downward and creating a lift with your heel. Okay, now here you are activating your calf muscles more, okay? But you're still creating patterns where you can control the balance, the movement, and have your toe going where you're rolling onto your forefoot and creating a better control pattern there as well. So as you can see, Dr. Joe is coming upward. He uses the wall for a little bit of balance and maybe even resistance with his body weight. And then he slowly descends, just the same thing. Eccentric contraction. Take about 1 or 2 seconds going up, pause for a second or two, then 3 to 4 seconds coming down, giving your calves good work and giving your ankle better movement patterns. Good. All right. Now, along with moving the ankle, you want to also activate the muscles that help support the ankle so that you have better control. So a lot of times we do a lot of balance work, okay? So Dr. Joe here is going to stand on one foot only. Depending on your balance, you may have to hold on to something, okay? Whether it's a pole, a stick, sometimes you just put your hand on the wall, okay? Just to help with a little bit of balance. And what you want to do here, as you can see with Dr. Joe, is creating this pattern where the ankle's like, okay, how do I want to balance myself here, okay? And a lot of times, I could actually say also, you could do this without shoes on, but it all depends on what you're comfortable with and where you're at with that. So Dr. Joe is standing on his right foot right here. And as you can see, his ankle's kind of moving around, seeing some flexion going on because it's looking for a way to balance itself out, okay? So from here, once he feels like he has a pretty good stability, okay, then he can create different movement patterns that will challenge your ankle. So he could reach back with his other foot, okay, creates another different pattern there. He could reach around and behind the other leg, just like so. He come out to the other side a little bit further out. So if you look at like a clock, he's reaching for like the 3 o'clock right there. Okay, and if you look at the different areas and angles that you can reach out to, it's creating challenges and different motor and movement patterns for that right ankle. Okay, there you go, 11 o'clock. I call that the 6 o'clock reach. Okay, the 3 o'clock reach. The 4 o'clock,
6,
7,
8,
9, there you go, 10,
11,
and
12.
Don't forget the 1 and 2.
Dang, 1. So we get down. I'll get down and drop my knee, and then point to that 1.
Yeah, and that's
then
actually
again,
important to
point to
note
that 2.
too. Dr. Joe said, you know, let the body do what it needs to do. Whether you bend your knees, create more stability in the hips as well. And that's going to transfer in helping the ankle find the best way for it to balance it out and support the body that way.
And try to reach as far as you can when you do it. Like I tell my 6 o'clock, I'll reach far all the way back to 6 o'clock. And then when I reach for 12, I'm actually trying to tap my heel or my toe down to try to get as far as I can.
So as he's reaching, notice too, right? Because the ankle is mobilizing. It's not just stable. The knee goes a little bit over the toes because it's doing more of a dorsal flexion on the ankle. Okay. Same thing when he reaches forward to his 12 o'clock. Okay. Those are patterns in which the ankle needs to be strong in, even though it's doing all these different movements, it's still stabilizing the ankle. All right, we just showed you guys ways to recreate different patterns for the ankle so that you get good support there so that you can perform better when you're out there and move better, all right? If you have any questions, please comment below, click subscribe, and ask us things or share with us how these things are working for you for your ankle mobility or any other exercise that you guys want us to go over, all right? This is the Move Better channel, Dr. Joe, John Pena-Serrata, and we'll see you again soon.